Hello and welcome to another episode of Work 2.0, the podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Wells, and this is where we talk AI, power, and the future of work. Now, this episode is a little bit different because over the past few weeks and months, you're accustomed to hearing me or watching me interview experts behind the changing nature of work. Been privileged to have sat across some of the greatest thinkers and innovators and entrepreneurs of our time. Sitting across virtually for me, we've had Ryan Serhant, star of Owning Manhattan and real estate entrepreneur and mogul. We've also had Dr. Ben Gretzel, the godfather of AGI. I've also interviewed CEO of Coursera. I've interviewed experts such as the Chief AI Officer of PwC, the CEO of Adecco, Dennis Mashul, even Neil Patel. So many people I've interviewed over the past year, in fact, since Work 2.0, the podcast, became a podcast. And today is a little different turn. We've done Work 2.0 on the road, where I've taken you with me at the Work Human Forum event, also South by Southwest London. But today, there's no one sitting across from me today. This is actually a solo podcast episode. Next week, we will have a guest on our episode, provided everything scheduling-wise goes according to plan. But today, it's just you and I. And I want to talk to you about something that's been having a lot of creators and writers and people involved in digital publishing, specifically on Substack, feeling a bit uncomfortable, up in arms, or everyone having a bit of mixed opinions about. And by now, if you've not been hiding under a rock, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm referring to the Substack and Pangram collaboration, which was announced just recently. In fact, last week, this is what happened. Last week, I was writing my newsletter, as I usually do, for Work 2.0. And as I was writing, I believe it was Tuesday's or Wednesday's newsletter, I noticed, oh, this is something a little bit different. There was a button there to scan for AI text. Initially, I didn't pay it too much mind. I thought, okay, let me just leave that. But it did linger in my head. Why did that button just pop up? It wasn't there before. And sure enough, when I looked into it, I saw that Substack, Chris Best made the announcement. They had partnered with Pangram for AI text detection across Substack. Caveat, it will only detect AI plagiarism or AI text, AI generated or AI assisted text rather, for text that's written on Substack on or after July 21st, 2026. Okay. So anything before that, you cannot run through the checker, unfortunately. So I want to talk about it because there's been a lot of debate about it. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it going to hurt the creator economy on Substack? I've been on Substack with the Work 2.0, the podcast, for about a year, and with the newsletter, Work 2.0 newsletter, which has expanded and grown recently as we are growing into enterprise partnerships as well. But I've been in the newsletter started last year, I believe it was last year, March 2025. So been a while, and I've seen, it's been really a privilege to be watching Substack evolve from the time that I started up until now. A lot more people are joining Substack, which is great. There's a lot more engagement. I think people are sick and tired of LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is one of those platforms that has a high concentration of AI slop. Someone posted a commentary on Elon Musk's statement when he was interviewed by Zanny Minton Beddoes from The Economist. And he said that, he personally despises LinkedIn. He absolutely detests it, and I in a way I can agree with him, as much as I'm an avid LinkedIn user, because LinkedIn has turned into a cesspit, a cesspool of slop from AI, where everyone's sharing their latest thought leadership or concept or ideas, which you can just tell, you can just sniff it, you can smell the metal from the robot almost. It just reeks of non-genuine, non-authentic content. And that's one of the things that I absolutely detest. As much as I create content on LinkedIn and I publish my articles and I share what I've written from Forbes, but whenever I scroll through my feed, I'm constantly bombarded by AI slop. Even worse is when I've put heart and thought and effort and energy into writing something substantial, especially on Forbes. I never use AI to write my Forbes articles. every word that you see on there is 100% human written. And I will share it on LinkedIn only to be hit with a barrage of AI comments, people who are literally just regurgitating what I've just said in the post, almost verbatim. They've just repackaged it. Or, you'll have comments that will, use those typical binary statements. It's not this, but it's this. Or, just a typical AI, is a way that AI speaks. And you'll see it in those comments where, it looks like they're trying to create their own thought leadership, a spin-off of what I've written. And I'm like, well, it's actually not working in your favor. No one's going to be looking at you as the expert here because you're clearly not just using AI to assist your workflow. AI is the workflow. You just handed your brain over to AI and said, AI, look at this post, give me a comment. And I don't appreciate that. And so, yes, LinkedIn has turned into a cesspit, a cesspool of AI slop, and people are becoming more and more fake, less genuine, and it is tiring and it is exhausting. And so Substack is clearly trying to make a distinction here, saying we want nothing to do with that. We are a genuine platform where there's genuine human connection, where real thought leadership is expressed, real expertise is shared and valued, monetary value through paid subscriptions, as well as just value through people collaborating, recommendations of Substacks, just sharing across the platform. And I love Substack for that. That's one of the things that drew me to Substack, that stood out to me, is that collaborative. It's not your everyday social media. In fact, it's not social media. It's a place where great minds gather, great minds think alike, discuss important themes under specific verticals like AI, like education, like technology, like business, like HR, so many verticals. And you get some really interesting topics and interesting discussions on there. And I've noticed from my experience that people tend to use less AI language there, and they tend to really express what they actually think. However, more recently, I've observed that across Substack, especially with Substack notes, it will look more AI written. And so what I've seen, this move where Substack has partnered with Pangram, which is an AI detector, to recognize when content has been written with the assistance of AI, I think it's a valuable move, because what it immediately does is it signals to the industry of creators that are on Substack and to publishers and to thought leadership experts on Substack that we are different to LinkedIn. We are not standing for AI slop. We're not going to encourage it on our platform. No, we're not going to stop AI being used on our platform, but we are going to regulate it so that people know what they're signing up for, what they're getting themselves into, especially when they subscribe to a newsletter, especially when they follow an author on Substack, and especially when they're paying a paid subscription. I think people have the right to know, am I getting the thoughts and the expertise of a credible expert from their own unique point of view, from their industry, rather than them just relying on AI to just mass produce content and then they're just slapping on a dollar sign on top of it. So people have the right to know what they're getting themselves into, and I think that's really valuable. So here's what I've done. When I saw that there, I thought, okay, so you're forced into doing two things. One way is to take the easy way out and say you can disable it. So I could disable the feature and say, no, I don't want this feature to be allowed, so no one will know if my content has been written by AI. But I don't feel impressed to do that. I don't think that's necessary, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So you do take that option, or there's the option of leaving the scanner there. People will click scan for AI text, and it will detect if your text has been written with AI, and you can leave it as that. Or the third option is you can allow the option to be there for people to scan for AI text, and you can also include in there like a disclaimer stating, okay, yes, there's AI text, but this is how I use AI as part of my writing workflow. And it's the latter option that I've opted in for, and let me tell you why. One of the things I've observed as a journalist, when I've interviewed experts, when I've been studying organizations when it comes to AI implementation, is the biggest issue we have in organizations today is a lack of trust. And that's why I've developed what I've called the Trust AI framework, where the first T in that acronym of trust is transparency. If you want to implement AI in your organization, you won't be able to do it effectively without establishing trust between you and your employees, you and your stakeholders, you and your industry, your market. And for myself as a leading voice on this topic, I found it would only be necessary, it would only be befitting for me to not hide the AI detection, but to actually include a disclaimer and allow people to stand for it, and include a disclaimer that explains exactly how I use AI as part of my work. Now, I think this is where you'll be scared if you only use AI to completely write your content for you. Then you should be scared, because that's not ethical and that reduces your credibility. But for myself, I know my workflow is I have my own thoughts, my expertise, which is in my head, my brain capital. There are things discussions that I'll be having, conversations that I'll be having with industry experts. And I'm like, okay, I need to write that down, or I've seen something in the news, or I'll see an emerging signal in the news before it becomes news. And I'm like, okay, I need to write this as a newsletter. So I will record that. I will talk about it. And as I'm recording it, I'll voice type it. Like, some people use Whisper. I use my own tool. I will record it, and then I want to convert that into a newsletter format, so it's structured. And so that's where AI will come in. Generative AI will help me structure it. It knows my brand voice, it knows my tone, it knows my style. I've trained it on my style, on my brand voice, which is very unique to me. And so it will come in and take what I have said to it, my own unique original thoughts, plus my brand voice, and it will put that together into the format of the newsletter that I want. So that way it saves me time when it comes to grammar, when it comes to polishing it, when it comes to making it fit for purpose to enter into someone's email, when it comes to email marketing campaigns, when it comes to driving click-through rates, even on Google, and it ensures that it cuts short my work on that end while still retaining my human voice. And I think that's very important. So I'm not using it to substitute my voice, not using it to give me the content. I'm not saying, hey, AI, generate a newsletter about this today. No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm giving it my thoughts. I'm giving it my ideas, my opinions, my beliefs, my predictions about the future of work, whatever it is that the newsletter is going to talk about. I essentially give it the body. And it's essentially like I'm giving it to a ghostwriter and saying, hey, ghostwriter, can you rewrite this for me and create copy out of this? But in this sense, in this case, the ghostwriter or the copywriter is not a human being, it's just AI doing it for me. And I find that cuts short my work and makes it a whole lot easier for me to publish and produce content when I've got a myriad of other things that I'm dealing with throughout the week other than writing for Work 2.0 newsletter. And now for my Forbes, that's 100% human written, like I said. So I will use AI to ideate, to create outlines of the themes I want to discuss. I would also use it as my research partner to help me find related sources and gather sources together so that I can pick the right sources that I need to use, pull from reports, pull from data, and include that in my reporting to make my reporting more robust and credible. But ultimately, the final, the writing that you see in my Forbes articles is 100% human written. That's all me there, no AI included. But I like to advocate for transparency, advocate for, if you're going to use AI, let your customers know, let your clients know. They deserve to know. I have people who pay for Work 2.0 media subscriptions. I have enterprises who I'm currently onboarding, EdTech partners, university partners, who I'm currently in the process of onboarding as enterprise partners to share Work 2.0 subscriptions with their students, with their learners, and with their staff. And they deserve to know that I'm using AI in an ethical way, not just to mass generate content, but to actually optimize my workflow so that I can give them my voice in the best possible manner. And so they deserve that disclaimer. And so if you're using AI, the best thing you can do is put that disclaimer out there, be transparent, because the more you're transparent, the more you establish trust with your stakeholders, with your people, with your team, with your clients, with potential clients as well. Better to do that than trying and hiding it. So that's my 2 cents on that. For today, that's it for today's podcast. And if you found this podcast episode quite eye-opening, or anything in particular that resonated with you, feel free to shoot me a message in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Share this episode with a co-worker or a team member, an employee, and let's really get this word out there and encourage AI adoption, but also AI transparency and trust building. I think that's absolutely vital in this era of this transition that we're in when it comes to AI. And don't forget to like this episode and rate Work 2.0, the podcast as well. And we will be back next week, Monday, on Work 2.0, the podcast.